You might ask yourself, what will make a woman go from this to this? Today we're going to be talking about a woman who thought she was untouchable. This story is proof that the prettiest women do the ugliest things. She let money and looks control her ego, which landed her and her parents in prison. Let's get into it. This is Courtney Clenney, the model who was making over $3 million a year. She was staying at a luxury penthouse in Miami, paying over $20,000 in rent. She was on top of the world. Men loved her, and she had thousands of followers on social media. So you might ask, how does a successful model end up in prison? I'll tell you how. In 2020, Courtney meets a man by the name of Christian Obenselli. It was an instant attraction between the two. He loved her confidence, and of course, she loved his stability. He was a successful crypto trader. But poor Christian was blinded by the beauty. He had no idea what he was about to be in for. Christian was one of those guys that every girl would dream of, you know? Financially stable, emotionally intelligent, and he was a sweetheart on top of that. But what did Courtney do? Instead of appreciating him, she took advantage. There were blow-ups before, but nothing that immediately raised a red flag with Christian. All he would ever do is just hope that things would get better between him and Courtney. Until the day came when the first red flag decided to show up. Christian went on a bike ride and ended up seeing one of Courtney's friends outside. All he said to her was, "Oh, you're on a live chat with Courtney." He waved and went on his merry way. But one crucial thing Christian forgot to tell Courtney was that he saw her friend outside, and this was her reaction.
Hey, let me help you.
You trust me? You know damn well the right thing to do is to tell me.
Yes, and I am so sorry.
So shut up and let me slap you, dumb. Literally talk to her without telling me.
Courtney, I was on a bike ride and she passed me and I said hi. You and Courtney are having a live chat. My bad, I forgot to tell you that. That doesn't make you to act and come here.
Hopefully that'll give you an idea of who's the villain and who's the victim. Even after she called him multiple N-words, he's still there trying to be helpful and sweet towards her. Like, oh, here, let me help you, as you can hear in the audio. So as you can see, he was a caring person. Because if anybody was calling me the N-word, I ain't going to be helping them after that. Most men will not talk about being in a domestic violence situation and the woman is the one that's beating on them. Because they always been taught to be a man. If a man tells someone that a woman is beating on him, he might feel insecure, sad, or not even want to speak about that because he's going to feel like less of a man. So I feel like in Christian's situation, he might have been embarrassed to tell anybody that she was hitting on him and all that stuff and calling him out his name. But if that was me, I wouldn't be putting up with nobody calling me the N-word and all that. And then he's still trying to be catering to her feeling after the fact. But of course, toxic relationships must go on. So Christian, being his hopeful self, decided to continue on with the relationship. And of course, things only got worse from there. The next encounter actually landed Courtney right in jail. If you thought calling him the N-word and slapping him was enough, it wasn't enough for Courtney. She moved on to throwing glass, which landed her a first-class trip to jail. Christian pleaded with the police to not have her arrested and says she probably didn't mean any harm, but that didn't save her. Once Courtney realized she was going to jail, she tried to change her story and say she left things out to get Christian in trouble instead of herself. But it was a little too late because the evidence matched Christian's story perfectly. Now you would think after all that disrespect that Christian would move on, that he had enough. But no, he ain't had enough. He kept trucking and believing in Courtney. Of course, Christian took her back right after she got out of jail, and Courtney still continued to treat him like he wasn't nothing. There's an elevator incident that happened before all this, which will be crucial for the story later. She was having a hard time getting Christian out legally, as he'd been living there for months, and once you get mail somewhere, it's hard to kick somebody out your house. So she decided to call the cops and make fake police reports, making Christian out to be the villain. Like, as y'all can see, Courtney is the aggressor in this situation. She tries to use her looks and how pretty she is with the cops and stuff, saying like, "Oh, I'm just a pretty young model, and he's a villain, and he be beating on me and pushing me. I'm just scared. I just want him on my place." But of course, the cops couldn't find no evidence of him being aggressive towards her. She didn't have no marks or anything like that. Nothing broken inside the house, and that like showed that he was like beating on her or whatever. So he ended up getting arrested, and they ended up still living together. And what happens next? You might honestly wish that he did get arrested. Christian, being the good boyfriend that he is, ended up going to Subway to get Courtney her favorite thing. And while he was doing that, she was at home stirring up even more drama. Of course, Courtney found another petty ass reason to be mad at Christian, and this would be the last argument that they ever had. As Christian's trying to calm her down, Courtney ends up stabbing him with this. After she stabs this man, guess what she does? She ends up calling her mom for 15 minutes while he's bleeding out on the floor. And then when she gets on the operator line, it's even worse because you could hear, like, I didn't want to play the 911 call because it's so sad. Like, you could just hear him dying on the floor. He's like saying, I'm gonna die, Courtney, I'm gonna die. He's like, I can't feel my arms, my arms are numb. It was so sad. I didn't even want to play it because I felt like I was gonna cry or whatever. But you hear him just like dying on the floor, and she's taking forever to even give the address. So it's like, why is she acting so incompetent? Like, why is it so hard to give the address and all this stuff? I understand he's bleeding out on the floor, and then you took all that time to call your mom. So it's like, what was y'all talking about for that 15 minutes while he was sitting there bleeding out on the floor? And then even when the cops come, like, she tries to switch up her little role, like, oh yeah, we were arguing and he had me pinned down on the ground, and that's the only thing I could do to get him off me. And then like she starts talking about, oh, we're supposed to go on vacation together, and is he okay? Is he gonna be okay? Like, knowing she did some bullshit. Of course, when she goes in for questioning, she tries to play the victim, and we're gonna see how that ends up backfiring on her. Remember that elevator I told y'all about? Well, it's about to come into play. Her lawyers were telling her everything was going to be all right and she was going to get off on self-defense. But when she went in for questioning, things started to change. The detectives already had crucial information that Courtney wasn't aware of. She continued with the victim narrative and even tried to make it seem like Christian had been arrested when at times when it was actually her getting arrested. She told detectives that in an effort to scare him off of her, she threw the knife across the room at him and it ended up stabbing him in the chest. But according to other evidence, like demonstrations of knife throwing and a demonstration of how the wound would look of actually stabbing someone, Courtney's story slowly started to fall apart. She ends up going to court or whatever, and they played a video of her in the elevator, and all she's doing is beating on Christian basically, and all he's doing is trying to restrain her. He never not once put his hand on her. He never not once tried to slap her or hit her. All he's doing is saying, babe, calm down, like putting her in a corner, holding her down, but not pushing her, not being aggressive, not anything like that. And one smart thing Christian did do was record arguments they used to have. So they played that evidence in court too, and they showed that, Courtney was actually the aggressor in the relationship. And her parents ended up going to jail too because they was trying to hide all the evidence for Courtney. Like, they was going through all his old devices, like trying to hack his laptop and all that stuff just so they can find evidence to save her from going to jail, which is crazy. So they ended up going to jail too for tampering with evidence. This story is proof that women will want a good man just so they can treat him like trash. Courtney's looks finally ran out for her, and I'm glad because she didn't deserve Christian. Christian was a good man, and you could just tell he was trying to save her from herself, and he ended up losing his life behind it, which is sad. So I'm trying to inform y'all about these women. If you have to do too much, then you shouldn't be talking to that woman. Like, if she don't respect you after you do all this stuff for her, and on top of that you treat her like a queen and she's still disrespecting you, then she don't deserve you. You need to move on, king. You don't want to be dealing with somebody that don't want to deal with you. That's all I'm gonna say. And hopefully you guys like this video. If you did, please hit that subscribe button and like, and I'll really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good day. Bye.